to explain that just very quickly. So anytime someone does a permit, vested or not, we talked a lot about vesting, they have to communicate through our permitting process to the federal government. U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the feds, they require compliance with the Endangered Species Act. In this area, there are some endangered species, the golden chief warbler, probably have heard of that, it's been in the paper for quite a long time, pops up every now and then. And then some protected bugs. I'm not an environmental scientist, so the karst invertebrates, there's a bunch of bugs that are protected. So they have to communicate that they're going to do a project. They also have to actually do some studies, and they have done those studies, meaning the developer. And they have forwarded those on to
Is that public information, those studies?
Those studies go to fish. Are those open records? They are, yeah. Yes, they are.
Okay.
And I've actually, because these questions come up, so the city, unfortunately, and I just presented to the council on this week, we're updating our form, but we have no authority to, I'm actually not allowed by law to enforce endangered species, but I am allowed to have that form filled out properly and given to fish so they can easily do it. So they have, and we have communicated to fish on this, they have received the studies for this property by their registered biologists, and they deemed there was no habitat, no golden chief warbler, and no karst caves, or karst concerns, yes. And those are open recordsable, I'm not sure that's a word, but open records.
Just to be clear, we don't receive every single study, but they are required to submit the habitat compliance form to us. So, and we have that document. Now, if U.S. Fish and Wildlife request additional information, they have the ability to work directly with the developer, or they can reach back out to the city. In this case, they reached us and asked for additional information. We received the surveys from the developer, so we have those in our record. We don't have them on our record for every single application because this is a request coming from U.S. Fish and Wildlife, but we do have them for this project.
Thank you.
So they review the habitat survey,
Yes.
and at this point, apparently their review is pending. Is there anything they can do? Suppose they come back and say, no.
Well, they have, I'll just give you a recent example, where a developer filled out the form and provided some information that may have been inaccurate. Yeah, last summer. Okay. So they are actually doing an investigation, like a criminal investigation on that developer for that case. In talking with the fish, the Fed investigator, those tend to take a couple of years, and they can actually have fines. I'm not sure they have ever, but they probably could do jail time. I'm kind of guessing a little bit there based on my conversations with the federal investigator. So, but that on this one, I don't believe they have any of that going on right now because I think they have what they need.
The only thing I was going to add was I think what you're referencing is a update from February 13th. Since then, they have received all the information and they have not provided us anything back. So the review is not pending. They have not provided any objection to the project.
So the developer has demonstrated to all of us their concern for the habitat. We can see that clearly. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
First, worst case scenario, they build. Is there a way that we can put together a list of our concerns and what we would like them to consider when building, such as height, such as I run the paths. And I was shocked the other day when because I hadn't run for a little while, I came out and that just comes right down to the path. I have my son at Wilderness Oak Elementary School, and I'm not saying because they're apartment dwellers, I'm saying because you have a denser population and apartments are kind of an easier in and out. I mean, I feel like it's a safety issue. Fencing, open landscape fencing. Obviously, they've got the open landscape part down now, but taking into consideration access to our running paths, our walking paths, our elementary school, the height, and consider it less apartments. If they are going to go in, what makes them? Do they have to
me go ahead and answer that if I may. The developer is in Alabama, but they have hired local representation to go ahead and work with the community. They're not here today, but I think we're going to take the information, well, they just got it. But we will take any information that you want to send to our office in the way of asking for certain things that we would like the developer to do. Things that might mitigate what he's done and make it more acceptable if it can be stopped. And right now, we're hearing from our city staff, we don't know any way it could be stopped. And I would welcome the opportunity to stop it if we could. But be that as it may, any concerns that you have, I would ask you to talk to people from my office who are here today. I've got two of my staff in the back, Colt, and also have my chief of staff here, and Zach over there. And so, you know, we'll be glad.
So they're taking notes, right? Because everybody has been voicing their
Yeah.
concerns.
He's taking notes.
Okay,
So
good.
let us know what they are, and we will go ahead and work with the representatives to see what we can do.
Because it is realistic. I mean, on Hardburger, there's a path I take and there's a path I don't take. And one is because it runs along apartments that have a gate that open and they're vacant. I mean, you know, there's nobody there. Somebody could grab somebody into a bush very easily. And we've got our little kids.
I forgot, I got Millie Ray back there too. Millie, raise your hand too. So they'll be glad to visit with you. Colt's taking notes too.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name's, microphone's freaking me out, sorry, I'm just gonna talk. My name's Hugh McKeon, I'm active duty military. I just bought my house here back in December. We moved from South Korea and bought it sight unseen. And one of the big things about the area was that we love the character of the area. And I think that's one of the concerns of the people here right now is that this apartment complex is going up. We're having this now kind of after the fact, after your offices have done your due diligence on the side of the law, and nobody was a part of that conversation right now. Looking forward to that, and I'm not huge on legal feasibility, but I am pretty big on how the government works. I know a lot of things that tied to money is the traffic engineer, I believe, the traffic engineer we talked about before. I think we're all in agreement that the 0.56, 0.58 number is way off for what is in this area. So one of the things I could propose, and I don't know the legal feasibility of it, but I don't know if it's a possibility at all, Councilman, but if you could bring up to the city council or something like that a traffic study is done for this area once Los Robles opens, they're at 70% capacity, and we could take a look at what kind of damage that does to the area in real life without looking at numbers and everything like that, and then put the traffic permit for the new apartment complex on hold until that new survey comes through. And the reason I think that's a good proposal, it all would come down to money, obviously. We would have to say, hey, this is worth spending money on in this area to make this happen.
Can we start now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So overall, your question is, can we do a traffic study when they're about at least 70% or so, close to but not full, and not give
Yeah, just so they get actual
numbers
It's not
versus
based on- the national average.
Yeah, okay.
Mid-size.
So, and then hold up the issuance of the vertical permits or some sort of permit, or the C of Os or anything like
Yeah,
that.
the
Yeah.
number of units occupancy.
So, I'm going to say the answer is no to that. I'm not allowed to hold up a permit to do an optional study on that for if it's not codified. Now, Razi, when we have challenging, Razi is our interim director of TCI, interim city engineer. Razi, when we do traffic studies or traffic concerns, either in the analysis and or for future consideration of projects to help alleviate more so than maybe this development has to do. How do you put those on your radar? How do you take something like this and have city staff maybe possibly do that? Do we have to do that through the budget process? Okay. So we would have to do that study through the budget process because that study's going to cost some money. Those budget process and budgeting it actually starts now for as we prepare the budgets. I know, Razi, I don't want to speak for you, but I know you attend a lot of these meetings, different concerns throughout the neighborhood to prioritize projects. Do you want to add anything? I don't know if you want to add anything to that. Maybe.
Is there any forward-looking thought put into it?
Well, it brings a
Or is it just
forward-looking
after the
thought
fact?
to me. I was shocked when I just heard that they figure it's going to be 0.5 people moving around out of those apartments each. I think we all know you're gonna have 300 units or 290 units, you're gonna see 2 cars for every unit, and 75% of those people are gonna go to work every morning and come home every evening.
John,
And so you're gonna see 400 and 500 cars a day going up and down.
John, the apartment place,
But-
I call Wilderness Oak, we saw the plat, 600 parking places.
Right.
And the first apartments are going up.
Right, but if the city is tied to, by state requirements, using certain governing studies that have been done nationwide, then we may have our hands tied. But if they're not, then I think it's something reasonable for us to be able to create our own way of understanding the traffic flow in San Antonio. In different areas, you're going to have different traffic flows. North of 1604, south of 410, west of 281, etc. So that's something I will try and work on, but my hands may be tied. They haven't told me yet you can't do that, Councilman. We'll see. The other thing that bothers me is when they talk about speeding, and I know it's a little separate issue, but I know you're worried about speeding in this area. And when I found out that the requirement for speeding is that if 85% of the traffic on the street are not going more than 5 miles an hour above the traffic speed, then there's no traffic problem. But to me, that means that 15% of the traffic is going faster than the speed limit by more than 5 miles. If you're talking about 1,000 cars a day going across the road, you're talking about 150 people speeding there. That is not safe. That's another issue that I'm working on as well. But again, by state or federal regulations, for monies that we get for roads and streets and things of that nature, we may be handicapped on just abiding by those kinds of regulations that have been set. But I'll work on it.
For changes for regulations.
Yeah, let me talk about that 0.5.6. Although there is going to be 300 or more units developed, all of them is not going to live at the same time, 7 a.m. or 7:30. No, they will not. The one lives at 7, the other one is 10 after 7, 20 after 7. Everybody does not live at the same time. We have